Day 55, ladies and gentlemen, of our 1000 Dawns. And once again, it is great to see you've all stopped by again. And yesterday was an interesting day because despite the fact that I thought everything was going well at work and stuff like that, and despite the fact that I did get told quite a few times that once you start, you grow with a bit of confidence, then you can actually start to be able to do slightly more difficult things. And you're only going to get out of life as much as what you got to get into it. Well, unfortunately, the powers that be admonished me and stuff like that for things that, to be honest, I've just straight up come to expect. That despite all of this talk of trying to be, independent and trying to gain self-confidence, no, they're not very happy about that. And to be honest, this is the sort of talk that, to be honest, should have come as no surprise to me, but whatever. I've heard it once, I've heard it all. And there's very, very little that's actually going to get in my way of judgment. Because, quite frankly, I'll continue. I'll follow their rules and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean to say I have to agree with them. Nor does it say I have to be happy with them. Because I'm not particularly happy about the idea of that I get told one thing and then their practice tells me to do the exact opposite. What sense does it make? Like, why are we starting to lie to it? Do they want me to start lying to them? I don't understand. I've never talked back to any of them. I've been at where I'm at now for nearly 9 weeks, and I have not talked back to anyone. So I'm beginning to wonder, well, what exactly, what did I do to deserve any of this? I'm only trying my best. I thought they wanted people to actually try their hardest. I thought that's the sort of it. I thought, the idea of a good workforce is that everybody relies on each other, everybody works to their capacity, and if the people get stuck, they ask for help. But if they don't get stuck, they won't ask for help. It shows a level of independence and a level of leadership that they can actually take things on their own shoulders and actually do things to impress other people. Apparently, that's, no, it's literally do as you're told and don't think anything above your station. It's the classic pull the ladder up, Jack, and sod the rest approach. Yeah, well, to be honest, it's not the same in that place as it is in any other place I've worked at. And quite frankly, I'm not interested. Because the only thing that's on my mind right now is, like I said, getting to Las Vegas. Because it was a lot of other things that happened out once I got home from work as well. People just being rude, people giving me the side eye, people ignoring me for no reason. It's just, at this point, this is just becoming very, very tedious. And I must be honest, if I'd been on the ball and I had the idea to do this before, I would have been out of here before the pandemic even happened. I swear to God, I literally would have been completely out of my toes and have probably been in somewhere else. Now, some may argue, what on earth do I expect Vegas to be any more hospitable and far more welcoming as a place than Newcastle, for example? Well, I don't know as of yet. However, it may not even be Vegas in the end, because what happens if I can't even afford to, even with minimum 10 grand, could I even afford to get out to Vegas? Or even afford to, afford the plane ticket? Yes, obviously. But could I even afford to, I don't know, something as basic as finding a place to live? Of course, the idea of finding work long since stood in my mind. However, I still like to imagine I want to have at least minimum 3 years of experience of working in the big house, in the casinos and stuff like that before I get myself out to Vegas, because I think that's probably that's probably the smarter option to do, is to get out to Vegas once everything is set in stone. And speaking of, getting out to Vegas, there's an interesting video I want to make a little bit later about something that happened yesterday concerning a certain Miss Christina from Florida. But you guys will hear from that sooner or later. In the meantime, here is one of a little consolation that did happen, is that yesterday I got paid from Google. And even though by the admonishment of the rules, we rounded up to the nearest 25, so that means that there's an extra 100 quid going into the kitty. So therefore, we may as well pencil this off anyway whilst we are here. So it goes from 9,895 to £9,795. We're almost a quarter. But to be honest, we're almost a quarter of our way, halfway down to £9,000 in no short of probably 2 weeks. We've managed to be able to do that, which I must admit is a pretty impressive feat, nonetheless. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I want to be able to get out, or at least into a place that feels a little bit more welcoming and a little bit less hostile to my kind, you may say. Remember the old adage, ladies and gentlemen, rudeness is not having fun. Rudeness is having fun at somebody else's expense. I'll do well to remember stuff like that. Maybe you guys at home will do well to remember stuff like that as well. But c'est la vie. Have a nice day.